You can help them with some algorithmic recalculating. So here's a good test that we have developed, and it works in almost everything that has like a little search bar. So Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, we call it the alphabet test. Just type in each letter of the alphabet on its own. And you will see in the suggested things that come up a slew of things that the algorithm thinks you might be ready to type.
Welcome to the Healthy Screen Habits Podcast. I'm Hillary Wilkinson. Whether you're starting your parenting journey with a newborn or looking to connect with your teen on technology, let's learn some new healthy screen habits together. As half of the husband-wife super duo who founded Parents Who Fight, my guest today teaches parents practical tips for family tech strategies through live workshops, webinars, and in-home consultations. Sarah Siegand is a parent educator, tech consultant, and mom of 2 teenage boys. She's been married to her husband, Jesse, for nearly 25 years, and together they founded Parents Who Fight in 2015. With the continued focus this season being placed on social media, I think she is going to be perfect to ask all the questions about what type of boundaries we need to put in place for healthy screen habits and enjoyment, because social media is fun. So welcome to the podcast, Sarah Siegand.
Thank you. I'm a big fan, so it's awesome to be here.
Thank you. So I am interested to hear a little bit about your background. Like, what was the motivation behind founding Parents Who Fight, and how did you kind of get started in this digital wellness space?
Sure. Well, I think our story shows that just about anybody can help somebody get a little bit further, because I do not place myself in like the tech expert bucket at all. I'm a graphic designer by trade, so of course I know my way around a computer, but really it came out of my passion to protect my own children. And so when my kids were in the first and the third grades, going to a fabulous elementary school, I mean, just the picture perfect experience you could have here in Nashville, they started telling us things that were a little bit troubling about things that their classmates were watching or interested in. And so that sort of perked our ears up, like, wait, what's going on? And the backdrop of our home is, at that point, we're a very low tech home. Well, we still are low tech in comparison to everyone else, but I think we had one computer. Maybe we had just gotten our first smartphones, my husband and I. So we were not early adopters of technology, but because we had so few things, we knew how to keep our kids out of harm's way on them. So we had like a filtered browser, and I had a password to get into my computer. But when my kids started telling me these things, I got curious about what sort of things other families were experiencing. And it sort of culminated in one specific instance where my son repeated something he had heard a kid say on the playground. And I knew that instance meant the child who was telling him the story had been exposed to pornography. It was very specific. And I knew there's no other way a first grader knows that. So I went into mama bear mode, not just of like, how do I protect my kid, but really thinking about like, wow, an entire school of kids. And I know these parents, they want their kids to be healthy and safe. They're not negligent.
Right. I think that's a shared goal of every parent.
Yes. Yeah. And it really just occurred to me that there are things happening on technology. It's moving so fast that we don't know how to get in front of it. We don't know how to stop some of the doors from opening. And so just in talking with other parents is sort of how it started. Like, has this happened to your kid? And it was unanimous, like, yes, yes, yes. And so in 2014, I had the opportunity to go to a national conference that was specifically about protecting families from pornography, which I had never even heard of anything like that before.
Right. No, we didn't grow up with this type of thing. So it's new
and
waters.
it wasn't at that point even something that people freely talked about. I think more and more so in the past 7 years, we've gotten better at knowing we need to discuss it and normalize that word so that we can talk to our kids. But when I came home from that conference, that was 2014, and I just started kind of grabbing all my friends' computers and like, here, let me show you this thing that I learned, Google Safe Search, never heard of it. And I just started helping people close some doors. And then in the winter or January 2015, we did a simple workshop at our kids' school and invited parents to come. And we really just taught them like, here's the backdrop of what's sort of happening online, and here are a few things you can do to protect your kids. And we were not intending to start Parents Who Fight. We were wanting to resource our elementary school, but we did get many, many invitations after that to other churches and schools and Boy Scout groups and whatnot. And we just really started saying yes to all of them. And so our interaction with parents over the past 7 years has fueled my research and my need to understand the major pitfalls of technology. So fast forward to today, what that looks like is we do live workshops. So we'll, be at a church or at a family conference or something, and we'll, have parents come in and sort of give them like, here's our best practice recommendations, along with some tech tips. But most practically, it applies to actually going into people's homes or setting up a Zoom call to find out what is that family's felt need, what are their objectives, because it's different for all of us.
Right.
Some people don't care how much time their kids have on screens. And I'm not necessarily in their home to judge that and tell them their kids have too much time. I'm there to give them the tools to know how much time their kids have so that they can make an informed choice on if they want to limit something with a time restriction. And then I show them how to do that.
Right. So the mission of Parents Who Fight is to help parents protect kids online. And by going in and doing all of this, is that how, I'm just wondering, like, how do you recommend parents start setting boundaries around family tech?
I mean, if you're lucky enough to have very, very little ones, your first objective is just really modeling it well. Now, we can all do that, and we all should be doing that, making sure that we understand how we're using technology and what strongholds are there that keep us, addicted or coping with it or whatever. Obviously, modeling is so important at every stage of parenting because your kids are always watching you.
Right. Sponges.
Yes. But, beyond that, we really encourage, which this is a totally free tip, costs you no money, to delay deeper levels of technology. So that includes the smartphone, gaming systems, and social media. And that it looks different for every family because there are all kinds of situations. There's families who have shared custody.
Right.
And so phones are a necessary mode of communication. So in those instances, we recommend, some dumb phone options or phones that are maybe hybrid and kid safe options. There's families who have older teenagers and then have a bonus kid coming up. So how do they keep video games out of that kid's reach? So every family has this completely unique construct.
Exactly.
And different goals. But I think, you can start with modeling, you can start with delaying what you can. You can get technology out of your kids' bedrooms. You can have them turn it in at night.
That is our number one healthy screen habit I cannot tell you how many mental health professionals, how many screen health professionals, that is the number one thing that we recommend is get the screens out of the bedrooms at night, protect the sleep and protect your family.
And when you hear of kids who are staying up until 2 a.m. on phones, it's like, well, gosh, no wonder everybody's so anxious and unfocused and unmotivated. I know for myself, I have to completely unplug from screens before I go to bed to even just sleep well.
Right.
And obviously, because I'm a graphic designer, I personally have all kinds of weird dreams when I've been on technology too much, where I'm like running in a Photoshop menu and I can't get out of it. And that's usually like the telltale sign.
Sounds like Tron.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you have been on this too long,
Right.
So and for us, we don't want to prescribe to every family what their screen time limits should be, but in general, I think if you don't have a way to measure the screens that are happening in your home as far as how long they're online and what kinds of things kids are doing on them, then you don't really have a true picture of what's going on and what needs there may be. Because if you have a bunch of kids, it's really hard to know who's using it for what amount of time.
Exactly. Yes. And I mean, I like how you touched on if you have a bunch of kids, and also if you have, everybody at varying levels of development and varying levels of need. And what gets really tricky, I know in my house, is whenever coaches have required like, oh, a group texting format or a group, we're all going to have this app and we're all, and I completely agree with you where every family is individual. And so it requires thinking about your own set. In that regard, we do have a free downloadable tool on the website called the Family Tech Plan that can help parents streamline for that. We have to take a break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask Sarah what aspects of apps and social media can be particularly problematic for teens or dangerous for teens. Do you know what's happening during your child's online exchanges? As well-intentioned as we are, often reading every text message, post, and email is often just not realistic. This is where Bark comes in to help. Bark Technologies provides a parental control app that monitors and alerts parents to online threats towards children through social media, texting, and other lines of communication. Bark offers one of the most comprehensive monitoring packages in the parental control app landscape and does so at a very reasonable price. Bark was created by parents for parents to offer a better, easier, and more effective way to keep children safe online. Bark monitors posts and messaging for signs of bullying, communication with dangerous strangers, etc. Bark's algorithms analyze all activity and issue parents notification via their chosen communication method. Gain peace of mind and get 20% off of Bark service by using the Healthy Screen Habits link. Go to our website at healthyscreenhabits.org, click on Tools in the drop-down menu, and look for products we endorse, and find Bark. Peace of mind is just a bark away. My guest is Sarah Siegand, founder of Parents Who Fight, an organization whose mission is to help parents protect kids online. So, Sarah, let's talk social media. This is kind of the focus of this season. And I would like to ask you, what are the aspects of social media that, with all of your dealings with families, you've seen so many families and so many types of families, and in your own experience, what are the areas that you have found particularly problematic for, let's say, teens?
Sure. I mean, starting just with the teens thing, kids don't belong on social media. So 13 is that minimum age that are, it's not to actually protect the children from content. Don't be fooled, parents. But there is a federal law that says, social media companies can't let you open an account if you're not 13 years of age. And so one of the things that has happened over the past 5-6 years, so I have a senior in high school, and a lot of his peers had social media when they were like 11. Well, at 11, depending on the platform, they either had to lie to get through the age gate and say, I'm 20 or whatever. So now Instagram, let's say, thinks they're 25, or the social media company didn't even have, a great age gate, and they just had to check a box saying I'm 13. So what you have now for teenagers is a whole bunch of them who've been on social media for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have built up a lot of algorithmic strength against them. And so parents are beside themselves in realizing all the stuff that is coming at their kids. And for the parents, are like, this stuff never comes at me. I never see, pornography. I never see suicide stuff. It's like, well, yeah, because you as a parent haven't clicked on something like,
You've
you're
been
not
clicking on bathroom remodels
exactly.
and pretty kitchen cabinets. You're
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
And so, we really highly encourage parents, like I said, with the delay piece. I personally don't think that a middle schooler exists on the planet that is actually strong enough to go up against that algorithm
I
and
completely
win.
agree with you.
Now, some people have super responsible middle schoolers. I'll give you that. But the internet doesn't play favorites on who's responsible and who's not. And every kid can make a miscalculation about what is safe.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we started doing with families is, maybe there's a kid who is, they're getting ready to go off to college. Let's say they just graduated. So they're already 18. And it's like, my kid keeps seeing this stuff online. You really have only a couple of options. So can you really tell your 18, 19-year-old you can't be on social media? Not really. Right.
No.
You can help them set up some healthy time limits. You can have conversations about, hey, the longer you're on this, the more likely you are to run into it. You can help them with some algorithmic recalculating. So here's a good test that we have developed, and it works in almost everything that has like a little search bar. So Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok is just type in, we call it the alphabet test. Just type in each letter of the alphabet on its own. And you will see in the suggested things that come up a slew of things that the algorithm thinks you might be ready to type or search for. And that will help you identify mature content. That'll help you identify some suicidal things or some eating disorder things that don't have that title. Like, the social media companies have been hammered about getting rid of search terms and hashtags and whatever that lead kids straight to problematic
self-harm or cutting
exactly
or porn or
yes. So there are certain hashtags and search terms that won't yield a result, but all a kid needs is to know the name of some TikToker who has problematic content, and their name might be I don't know, Daisy Girl, something like that. And so it doesn't necessarily, as a search term, pose an alarm, but once you click on it and you can see what's there, you'll see. So that's something that we've done periodically. And so in order to help recalculate a family's, first of all, does the kid even need to be on it? Like, what is it worth? At certain ages, it's just like, just get rid of Instagram for a couple of years. They might hate you for a little bit, but they'll be okay, depending on the age of the kid. But if you're talking about, my kid has gotten, himself in over his head, he wants to get out, we want to help him use TikTok well or whatever, then there are things you can go in and start feeding the algorithm in those alphabetic
and making
terms.
It work for you.
Yes.
I think we were all, well, you probably were a little, you were earlier to this party than I was, but I have to say it was such light bulb moments that happened, I think, for most of the nation when we saw Social Dilemma, which was the Netflix film that Tristan Harris, who's the ex-Google ethicist who founded Center for Humane Technology, he explains specifically how the algorithms work. And we all kind of went through this shock and awe period of, oh my gosh, we have no control. But I love this, what you're talking about, because what you're talking about is making the algorithms actually work for you. And that's the goal of any good tool. Right. Which is what the goal is in teaching our kids about tech, is this is a tool. So I love this. I think this is groundbreaking.
Hopefully. And I think parents start small. If your kid is interested in social media and they're of an age, right, to have social media, it's not their decision, it's parenting decision. This is like, are you going to drive? Are they ready? That's a parenting decision. If they are ready, you talk about and agree on one app, and you start with one, because as a parent, you need to be ready to know how to monitor that depending on their age and what, kinds of things they do, but also how to have conversations. So parents, do not just give your kids the keys to the app store and say, get what you want.
Right.
We go into a lot of homes where the parents are like, yeah, I don't think they have Snapchat. I don't, they get their kid's device for the day. Their device is on the counter with me, kids at school, mom's there. And lo and behold, they do have all this stuff, and it's hidden in a folder on their phone, and the parent didn't realize. So that's something that we would encourage parents to really look at is, man, the influence you give away when your kid gets social media should not, you need to look at that soberly, because you can't underestimate how much influence you are giving away, because you're giving them the whole world. And you want to make sure that you as a family are prepared for that you as a parent are not going to freak out when your kid comes across something, because they are going to.
Right.
So,
it's not an if, it's a when.
Right. So is it a fit for 13-year-olds? I have a hard time with that. But I know lots of families who are already in that boat and they don't feel like they can take it away. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to help you.
Right.
I am going to help you. Let's put bark on that, Instagram account. Let's get that Instagram account on mom's phone too, so you can log in and see. Let's work together to try to mitigate things. And if it comes to it, yeah, you're right. Your kid may just need to not have it.
Right. And it's hard because we know that when kids run into problems, i.e. like cyber harm online, only 12% of teens will come to parents for help. So I think having this open communication of, this is to protect you, this is, it's such a tricky thing. I totally agree with you. I love coming from the point of keeping it as a tool set, keeping making the algorithms work for you. And I could not agree with you more on delay if possible. Yeah.
Our oldest got social media at 17 and a half. And that was very purposeful on our end, because we knew we could have bark on that account until he was 18. And we needed some months of those notifications to be able to see where he was strong and where he was weak. That was very important to us. But we knew that when he was younger, he really wasn't ready for it. And so we made him wait till he had a purpose for social media. And it couldn't just be, I'm the only one who doesn't have it. That's not a purpose. And I'm sure he would say it was hard to wait. And I'm sure he would also say it's hard having it. Both are hard.
Right.
And you're learning you're training them to learn how to use it well as an adult if they choose to, but also giving them the freedom to not use it if it's harmful or if it's not something that they enjoy.
Right. Okay. We have to take a short break, but when we come back, I am going to ask Sarah Siegand for her healthy screen habit.
Hi, I'm Amy Adams from Healthy Screen Habits. I have the privilege of running book club. And we invite you to join us each Friday over on Instagram at Healthy Screen Habits, where we discuss books that will help us create healthy screen habits for a balanced life. We have a book that we do every couple months, and we hope you'll join us and enjoy and learn and grow with us.
My guest today is Sarah Siegand, who is an active advocate for families and digital balance with her organization, Parents Who Fight. So I follow Parents Who Fight on Instagram. And I think about a week ago, I saw Sarah introducing this idea that will spread joy and awareness and simultaneously give parents this huge pat on the back for doing a great job. I love this idea. I think it's what's missing from our world. I have to share it. Can you tell everyone about these? I'm calling them tokens of happiness.
Oh, yes, I love it. I wanted to do something to tell parents that I see you when we're out in the public and we see somebody doing like reading a book with a baby in, the checkout line, or doing something that's completely tech free, playing with little dolls in the doctor's waiting room or whatever. I mean, I've just seen so many of those over the years, but there were a couple of them early on that really hit me like, oh man, these families are doing something so hard, but they're being so intentional. And I just loved it. So I made these little wooden nickels is actually what they are. And it's a tech-free parenting win token. So it says on one side, you have been spotted in a tech-free parenting win. And then on the other side, it says, pass this token on with our logo. So the idea is that parents who come to our events will get these. And of course, anybody can order them on our website, but we're trying to start a chain reaction. So one parent gets a bunch of tokens and they're looking for other parents who are just having a win moment with their kid that doesn't involve screens. And then they can pass the token to them. So now that parent has a token that they can pass on.
And I love it because it's the law of attraction. When you're looking for the good in the world, you will find the good in the world.
Yes.
Plus, it will give you more ideas of what to do with your kid. I mean, one idea that I used to do with my kids at a restaurant, which 100% came from me noticing a woman next to me, was to take all of that. This was when my kids were elementary age, so they were okay with having butter knives on the table. But taking the butter knives, forming a grid, and then we'd play tic-tac-toe with like the equal packets and the
that's awesome.
sweet and low, the two different colors. And
yes.
I 100% lifted that idea from another woman who I saw doing it with her kids. And I was like,
right.
Oh, so that's one of those things where it's like you're creating this opportunity for observation of noticing what's right with our world. So I love it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you. And hopefully, you can get your kids involved. So they're like,
yes,
Mom, look, that parent is, playing patty cake or whatever at the grocery store.
So I think these tokens could have been the healthy screen habit. However, I am committed to asking each guest for a healthy screen habit, which is a tip or takeaway that our listeners can put into practice in their own home. And do you have one? I was like, oh, I've got such limited time. I got to pump you for everything you got here.
Yes. I actually wanted to share one that my 18-year-old son came up with when he was 17. Kids are so curious about that tech. They know how to do things on it. They're like, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know you could do that. So he created a widget on his phone, which is just like a little screen of a selection of something you want to be highlighted, whether it's your weather or the news for the day. But his widget is his screen time, so that he could see every day how much time he had used on social media. And he came up with that because he had a time limit on social media, and he always felt, gypped when it came time and it would just shut off. So he wanted to keep track and make sure he knew how much time he had left. And so I was like, hey, can you show me that? And so he showed me how to create a widget on my phone. So as parents, I think it's helpful for us to remember we can't manage what we don't measure. And if we want our kids to take a break from their screens and not be on them so much, we probably should know how much screen time we have on our own phones. So create a widget. Don't ask me how to do it. My son did it, but I Googled it. And you can literally Google create a widget on my iPhone, create a widget on my Android. And there are step-by-step instructions to see your screen time at a moment's notice.
Perfect. Perfect. So if you'd like more information about Parents Who Fight and the work that they do, please look them up at parentswhofight.com. As always, I'm going to link this information in the show notes, which you can find by going to the healthyscreenhabits.org website and clicking on the podcast button. Scroll down to find this episode, where you'll also find a complete transcript of this conversation. So, Sarah, you are doing amazing things out there, and behalf of all families looking for help, thank you so much. And thank you for chatting with me today.
Yes, my pleasure.
For more information, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Healthy Screen Habits. Make sure to visit our website, healthyscreenhabits.org, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or via RSS, so you'll never miss an episode. It's free, it's fun, and you get a healthy new screen habit each week. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate you giving us a quick rating. It really does help other people find us and spread the word of healthy screen habits. Or if you'd simply like to tell a friend, we'd love that too. I so appreciate you spending your time with me this week, and I look forward to learning more healthy habits together.